Doctor Who The 11th Hour, the first episode of Series 5, is written by Stephen Moffat and starring Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. So, what's the crack? Well, the show got renewed for Series 5 in September 2007. Stephen Moffat replaced Russell T Davies as a showrunner, and Piers Fenger and Beth Wells replaced Julie Gardner as the executive producers. Tracy Simpson and Peter Bennett came as the producers, and Murray Gold stayed on to score. The series introduced Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor after David Tennant left the show.
I love this part, and I love this show so much. And if I don't take a deep breath and move on now, I never will, and you'll be wheeling me out of the TARDIS in my bath chair.
Stephen Moffat wanted to cast a middle-aged actor young enough to run but old enough to look wise. When Matt's agent called him, the producers were unsure because he was 26 years old at the time, and they believed that Smith couldn't play the Doctor because of that age at first. However, Piers Fenger was like, "Screw it, Matt is capable enough to play the Doctor." So the casting got announced in Doctor Who Confidential, and Matt said it's a wonderful privilege and challenge that he hopes he will thrive on.
Truthfully, I haven't. I probably look a bit bags under the eyes now. Because it's sort of an iconic part of our culture.
As for the costumes, Matt tried few things to find a look he would feel comfortable and confident in, which would identify his Doctor, and he suggested a bow tie to take the inspiration from Patrick Troughton. Everyone didn't improve until Smith put it on. And I think Matt Smith is fantastic. He plays a man-child, kind-hearted person, and a bit of Troughton vibes. And I'm not gonna lie, but when I was 11 years old, which is how old I was when The End of Time and Series 5 came out, I didn't like Matt Smith at first because he replaced David Tennant. Yes, I was an idiot not to like him, but when I watched his series, he grew on me straight away, and I was really proud when I have the action figures, and I think Matt Smith is a fantastic actor and as the Doctor. So the director suggested Karen Gillan to play the companion, Amy Pond, after when she played Soothsayer in The Fires of Pompeii. Moffat wanted a companion to be short and dumpy, and he later loved the idea of casting Karen, and I think she's fantastic. I do love Amy Pond. They also casted her cousin Caitlin Blackwood as young Amy Pond, aka Amelia Pond, and those two never actually met until the set of Doctor Who, which is crazy. But then again, there's a couple of my cousins I haven't met yet as of time recording because they live a long way from where I live. Stephen Moffat originally named this episode The Doctor Returns and said that the script was hard to write, which I can imagine. He also wanted the Doctor and Amy's relationship to be childlike, like Peter Pan and Wendy instead of boyfriend and girlfriend.
My name is Wendy. Wendy Mora Angela Dodd.
Wendy's enough.
Oh.
So when the season began shooting, and there was paparazzis around, we get a first glimpse of Matt and Karen on set, along with the TARDIS. But then we get the first look in the teaser trailer where the Doctor and Amy travelling through the rabbit hole full of monsters, including the returning ones like the Daleks and the Weeping Angels, where it's all 3D, which I thought it looked fascinating. So Series 5 begins just after the events of The End of Time, where the TARDIS is flying down to London in flames and the Doctor was about to fall off. What a great opening. I found it funny when the Doctor was screaming as he was about to hit Big Ben, so luckily he used a sonic screwdriver to lift the TARDIS a bit high and dodge the Big Ben. So he then pulls himself back up inside the TARDIS, and I do like the title sequence as well. So Amelia does praying, asking Santa Claus to send someone to fix the crack on the wall.
There's a crack in my wall. Aunt Sharon says it's just an ordinary crack, but I know it's not.
Stephen Moffat took the inspiration from his son's cracked wall bedroom for the story arc, and his son was thinking that something interesting lived inside a crack, which is a great idea. So Amelia hears the TARDIS materialising, so she looks out the window to see the TARDIS tipped over and broke the shed. So she went outside, and the Doctor climbed up to the door all soaking wet, and his clothes is kind of ripped, asking for apple, so he fell out the TARDIS and walks into a tree. So then we get a nice and funny scene where the Doctor tries different foods and spitting them out like apple, yogurt, bacon, beans and bread and butter. So then he tried fish fingers with custard and he really enjoys it. I have to be honest with you, I actually did try it and I really liked it, despite that I'm not too keen on custard itself. Amelia wasn't scared the fact that the box fall out the sky, man falls out the box and man eats fish custard, as it's a hell of a scary crack on the wall. So after eating some food, the Doctor looks at the crack on the wall and mentions that if you knock down the wall, the crack will stay put because it's not on the wall, it's everywhere. And I thought it's pretty effective when the Doctor opened the cracked wall and with a big eyeball inside and the voice saying Prisoner Zero has escaped is pretty scary.
Prisoner Zero?
Prisoner Zero has escaped. That's what I heard.
So he gave the Doctor a message on psychic paper and closed the wall saying Prisoner Zero has escaped. Stephen Moffat decided not to explore Prisoner Zero's crimes because he didn't think the fans would care. I'd be interested to see more of Prisoner Zero. So after the Doctor looks at the corner of his eye, he hears the cloister bell, so he quickly runs to the TARDIS. Amelia wanted to come, but the TARDIS is not safe at the moment. He says his iconic line, "Trust me, I'm the Doctor."
Trust me, I'm the Doctor.
So the Doctor jumps inside the TARDIS and disappeared. I like to see a child being the Doctor's companion, like a 12-year-old travelling with the Doctor for the whole series for a change. I think that would be a nice change there. So while Amelia packs up her luggage and waiting for the TARDIS to arrive, we get a creepy intense that something is moving inside the house and the clock ticking. So then the TARDIS arrived at daytime, which turns out to be 12 years later. So he then lets himself inside the house and scan the door, knowing Prisoner Zero is there. He then gets knocked out by someone with a cricket bat. Meanwhile, we introduce Rory, who works at the hospital, and his boss, Dr. Ramsden. The actress is known to be in EastEnders, apparently, and she's not really a cheerful woman here. Apparently the patients can't speak, however they kept calling for the Doctor. So then the Doctor woke up with a grown-up Amelia, now Amy, wearing a police outfit and using a fake radio, as the Doctor is handcuffed to the radiator. So Dr. Ramsden kept ranting at Rory and asked him to take some time off. So the Doctor got Amy to look at the corner of her eye. So she goes inside the room, which looks like inside of a shed, with a sonic screwdriver covered in goo on the table. So Amy picked it up and Prisoner Zero appeared behind her, which is scary.
Do not look.
As soon as Amy noticed, she runs out and the Doctor tries to unlock a handcuff. Then the Prisoner Zero, disguised as a man with a dog on the lead. I have to say, that actor did a fantastic job when he barked, and that long teeth, my god! That is pretty grim. It's like something you'd see in a horror movie. So there's a Traxy voice which distracted Prisoner Zero, so the Doctor got himself free, so him and Amy ran out. Sadly, the TARDIS won't let the Doctor in as it's rebuilding, but then he noticed the shed is rebuilt and it's at least 10 years, so he gave it a taste and he finds out it was 12 years. And it reveals to be Amelia growing up.
You're Amelia.
You're late.
Amelia Pond, you're the little girl.
I'm Amelia, and you're late.
So the Doctor and Amy ran into Ledworth Street. We have a scary speech from the Traxy when it played on the radios and phones, including the ice cream van, saying stuff about the human residents will be incinerated over and over again. So the Doctor barged into the old lady's house trying to change channel, and she happens to know Amy. And I like Jeff, he's canny. So Jeff and his gran knew the Doctor as the Raggedy Doctor, as Amy did the cartoons when she was a child.
Are you the Doctor?
He is, isn't he? He's the Doctor! The Raggedy Doctor!
When I first watched this episode, and she said she knows the Doctor from somewhere, I actually thought she was one of those old people at the bus in The End of Time, where Wilfred asks them to help to look for the Doctor, and took photo of themselves with the Doctor. But apparently not. As the Doctor and Amy heads outside, the fact that the duck pond has no ducks seems to bother him.
Why aren't there any ducks?
I don't know, there's never any ducks.
Then how do you know it's a duck pond?
It just is. Is it important, a duck pond?
And the sun has gone wibbly. He uses a vision like spider sense to see Prisoner Zero and Rory taking pictures of him. So Amy shoves the Doctor's tie into a car, and that old bloke needed his car back soon, and Amy asked him to go for a coffee. Man, she runs the place. So then the Doctor tries to get Amy to believe, so Amy unlocked the car and the Doctor jumped onto the grass and snatched a phone off Rory and asked him why did he take a picture of a guy with a dog. The answer is, because he can't be in the street. He's in a hospital, in a coma.
Yeah.
Knew it. I loved Arthur Darvill as Rory Williams. I thought he's great and amusing. He was originally going to have a couple of scenes in episode 1 and one scene in episode 6. The fact that Arthur wasn't aware about the full details of the character. He wasn't aware that his character is Amy's boyfriend. Stephen Moffat casted him because how funny he is, and Arthur works with Matt Smith in the play called Swimming with Sharks. And I think he's fantastic. I've met him at Comic-Con and he's really nice. So we get a great scene where the Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver, the lamppost explodes, car alarm sets off, fire engine drove itself away from the firefighters, and a poor old lady in a mobility scooter speeds off. I wonder what happened to her after that. Blimey, Doctor, that's a bit low and extreme. So after he exploded a telephone box, sadly the sonic screwdriver got up in flames and it's damaged. So while the Atraxi flew away, the prisoner Zero melted himself down the drain. While Dr. Ramsden tries to wake Barney up, the prisoner Zero arrived. I like the moments where the Doctor was asking Amy what the guy's name, not Rory the good looking one, and she said Jeff, and Rory's like, thanks. Ah, thanks.
Your friend, what was his name? Not him, the good-looking one.
Thanks.
Jeff.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, that's pretty funny. So the Doctor again lets himself inside the old lady's house and helped himself with Jeff's laptop. When the Doctor was like, blimey, get a girlfriend, Jeff. And later when he said, delete your internet history, I wonder what website he was on.
Here. Blimey, get a girlfriend, Jeff.
Who knows? So the Doctor contacts the famous people, including Patrick Moore, and he writes on Rory's phone a computer virus to turn every digital display to 0. So the Doctor gave Jeff's gran Patrick's number and advised Jeff to delete internet history and left. Meanwhile, Amy and Rory investigates inside the hospital and runs into Olivia Colman with 2 little girls, who apparently is Prisoner Zero in disguise again. Again, the teeth is terrifying, so Amy and Rory ran and barricade themselves in a room while Prisoner Zero tries to break in. I love the bit where the Doctor has nicked the fire engine and drove up to the hospital, so the Doctor climbed through a window and giving the Prisoner Zero a little smile, so every word in the world turns 0, so the Atraxi managed to trace the phone that the Doctor is carrying. As Prisoner Zero takes a new form, Amy passed out, the Prisoner Zero turns into the Doctor and young Amelia Pond, which by the way, that's how the Doctor finds out what he looks like.
Well, that's rubbish. Who's that supposed to be?
It's you.
Me? Is that what I look like?
You don't know. Busy day.
So the Doctor gets Amy to dream about that she saw Prisoner Zero, and it became its normal form and gets taken away.
Silence, Doctor. Silence will fall.
I thought the effects on Prisoner Zero looks cool. So the Doctor orders Atraxi to return, so the Doctor, Amy and Rory went to the changing room. The Doctor decides to strip his clothes off. Rory looks away but Amy doesn't. So after that, the Doctor, Amy and Rory went on the roof, questioning Atraxi. And I love the footages it played, including the monsters from past modern series and classic series, and all 10 faces of the Doctors with Matt Smith walking through David Tennant's face and says, hello, I'm the Doctor, basically, run.
Hello. I'm the Doctor.
So Atraxi flew away, and the Doctor ran to the TARDIS when it's finally been rebuilt.
Okay. What have you got for me this time?
And he looks inside it and calls it a sexy thing, and disappeared off. So then 2 years later, for Amy, the Doctor came back and asked Amy to travel with him. She said no, but then the Doctor showed her inside, and she's fascinated by it. I do love the TARDIS interior, but I do miss the previous one. The Doctor gets his sonic screwdriver and proud to say that he's the madman with a box.
I am definitely a madman with a box. Ha ha! Yeah.
So the TARDIS disappeared and cut to the scene where there's different models of 11th Doctor and 10th Doctor's clothes and Amelia Pond and Amy's wedding dress. So we get coming soon trailer.
Last night was the night before my wedding, and my imaginary friend came.
Man, what an episode! This is a great start of the series and Moffat's era. I remember first seeing this trailer.
Trust me, I'm the Doctor.
As I was thinking at the time, that looks amazing, but not the same without David Tennant. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic episode. Like I said, I love Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor, and same with Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill as Amy Pond and Rory Williams. Caitlin Blackwood did so well playing young Amelia Pond. Nina Wadia did a great job playing a shouty Dr. Ramsden. I'm sure she's a nice woman in real life. Marcello Magni is so good playing the terrifying Barney, a guy with a dog. Olivia Colman is a talented actress. She did so well playing Prisoner Zero as well. Sadly, I didn't get around to watch Broadchurch, but I will do eventually. David DeKaiser and Enid Crosby are great as well, and I like Tom Hopper as Jeff. He also played Wesker in Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City film. Murray Gold again does a fantastic music, up there with John Williams and Danny Elfman, especially the I Am the Doctor, so iconic. I think the story is well written and well directed. Originally Series 5 was going to be David Tennant's last one. What would have happened is that the 10th Doctor would have crashed into the back garden about to regenerate, and little Amelia would help him back to the TARDIS and he'd fly away. She'll meet him again when she grew up, but you have no memory of that because we came to realise that was the Doctor from the future. We'd make our way through the series to the point where the Doctor gets back to that, which would be interesting, and Stephen did sort of reuse that idea in Series 6 with 11th Doctor, but of course David Tennant already decided to move on. So, what did you think of this episode? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Doctor Who The Beast Below, the second episode of Series 5, is written by Stephen Moffat and starring Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. So yeah, Moffat wrote this episode to introduce Amy Pond as the Doctor's companion and her first adventure with the Doctor. This episode sets in England on a spaceship called Starship UK in the year 3290s, and it explores where the Doctor decides the best thing he can do is kill the star whale as painlessly as possible. But Amy comes up with an alternative solution that's more human and was designed to stand out in the Doctor's memory as a failure for a huge scale, and also the Doctor's need for a companion, and showed how important Amy would be to him. So this episode starts with a smiler in the booth saying well done to all students except a boy who got a 0.
Bad boy, Timmy.
So a girl called Mandy advised him to walk 20 decks to London, because if he uses a lift with 0, he'll get sent below. But he uses a lift and gets sent below, which is dark, and there's a smiler in the booth turning from happy to sad then angry. So the Doctor shows Amy the space and the effects looks nicely done.
Last night was the night before my wedding.
Come on, Pond.
And my imaginary friend came back.
So they looked at the Starship UK. So they've arrived there, the Doctor went to Mandy, who's crying, showed Amy around. The sets are great as well. Reminds me of Metro Centre, the shopping mall in Newcastle. So there's a winder following the Doctor and Amy, and after the Doctor puts a glass on the floor, seeing something isn't right. So he phones Hawthorne, he phones Liz 10. So the Doctor asks Amy to ask Mandy what's with the smilers and booths. So Amy goes to talk to Mandy and she sees a keep out sign. So she had a look at it. While the smilers are turning from happy to sad to angry, there's a tentacle inside, so the winders use the knockout gas to put Amy to sleep. So the Doctor looks at the fake cables and he meets Liz 10 wearing a mask, asking the Doctor for help when she notices a glass of water on the floor. So Amy goes to the computer and gets an option to either protest or forget. So she ended up pressing forget.
Listen to me. This isn't a trick. This is for real. You've got to find the Doctor.
What have you done?
When the Doctor came in and Mandy arrived, she said you have to be over 16 to press one of those buttons. So the Doctor decided to press protest, so the Doctor and Amy ended up inside the beast's mouth. Gross. Matt and Karen described this scene challenging, and Karen thought it was bizarre. So the Doctor figures out that he's inside the mouth, which reminds me of Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, where the Millennium Falcon is in a mouth.
There's no cave. What?
So the beast threw up, and the Doctor and Amy ended up in the overflow pipe, covered in sick. Lovely. So they met two Smilers, so the Doctor questions them, but they stepped out of the booths, wonder what they're gonna do, so Liz 10 arrives and shot both of them twice. She's pretty badass. I think Sophie Okonedo did a fantastic job. She also voiced Alison Cheney, the Shalka Doctor's companion in The Scream of Shalka.
Sorry, we only do dry or sweet.
And I don't do sweet. Miss Cheney?
Liz 10 mentions the previous monarchs the Doctor has encountered and reveals that she's the Elizabeth X. And her best line is, "I'm the bloody queen, mate. Basically, I rule." Brilliant. So they go inside her room for a bit. Terence Hardiman played Hawthorne, Prime Minister of Starship UK. He did a great job, as he did as the Demon Headmaster. So terrifying.
Funny that you should all be so tired, so early in the afternoon.
That's what he said before.
Smilers are androids in booths in Starship UK who are supposed to be security. And I think they're pretty terrifying, and Chris Porter did so good. I love to see the Smilers to return to Doctor Who. If they do that, they got to get Chris Porter to voice them again. Winders are the police, and they're cyborgs, half human and half Smiler. They're pretty brutal and terrifying as well. David Ajala did so well too, and same with Hannah Sharp and Alfie Field, who played Mandy and Timmy. And I find Catherine Richards as the poem girl pretty scary when she does a speech about Beast Below, which is well done.
Expect no love from the beast below.
So the Winders let themselves in, revealed to be half human, half Smiler.
The highest authority, ma'am.
I am the highest authority.
Yes, ma'am. You must go now, ma'am.
So they take the Doctor, Amy, Liz 10 and Mandy to the Tower of London, and apparently the children who get sent below are still alive, which is great. We find out that the ship is connected to the beast. It's being tortured, which is horrible. And there's a moment where the Doctor plans to kill a whale, but Amy released the whale, but it's still carrying the Starship UK because it cared for humans. Plus the star whale first appeared in an episode of Torchwood, Meet. So in the end, everything is alright. The Doctor and Amy hugs. The Doctor gets a phone call from Winston Churchill with a shadow of a Dalek appearing. Pretty terrifying.
Tricky situation, Doctor. Potentially very dangerous. I think I'm going to need you.
And we see a crack on the starship, the same one in Amy's bedroom. Another great episode. Again, Matt Smith and Karen Gillan are great as 11th Doctor and Amy Pond. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who, Victory of the Daleks, the third episode of Series 5, is written by Mark Gatiss and starring Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. So Stephen Moffat wanted to bring back the Daleks as they're popular and wanted to redesign them. So he hired Mark Gatiss to write this episode and have Winston Churchill versus the Daleks and set it in World War II. Mark wasn't sure at first, but he loved the idea and took the inspiration from The Power of the Daleks, even though he hasn't seen it as it's missing and wasn't animated at the time, which would be obvious when they said "I am your soldier," where the ones in Power of the Daleks, they said "I am your servant."
I am your servant.
Gatiss wrote it when Matt Smith wasn't casted, and he's thinking of generic Doctor, and Stephen Moffat said it's like John Pertwee and Mark Gatiss agreed. So after Matt Smith was casted, Mark Gatiss watched him in Party Animals to examine his energy and phrasing.
Now he wants to be a social worker. I mean, he's perfect. Poacher turned gamekeeper stuff.
Where would it be?
Outside his college seems the best place.
And he also said the Daleks in this belongs to World War II, and they destroy anything that's not a Dalek with a Nancy concept. which is what Terry Nation based the Daleks on. So Mark Gatiss wrote the script, and wanting the new Daleks to be colourful like Peter Cushing Dalek films, he wanted a green Dalek, but he thought it wouldn't work, so he went for 2 Daleks for replica of World War II, which I think it works, and Gatiss also played Danny Boy in this episode, a reference to a similar line in the film Where Eagles Dare. So the episode begins with Winston, WRACs and RAF keeping track for upcoming enemies and pushed a model Dalek on the grid. So after the title sequence, the Doctor and Amy arrived. Winston wanted the Doctor's TARDIS key so he could use the TARDIS to end the war, but it doesn't work that way. And apparently the Doctor is a month late. So they went to the roof and meeting Professor Bracewell, and there's a laser shooting with a familiar sound. It reveals to be a Dalek, which they call it Ironsides. And they claims that Professor Bracewell created them.
Quite something, eh?
What are you doing here?
I am your soldier.
What?
The Doctor tries to tell Winston the truth about the Daleks, but he wouldn't listen, so he asks Amy to tell him about the Daleks, the fact they moved the Earth to another space, with planets in the sky, but Amy doesn't remember, which is mind-blowing, and the Doctor is horrified.
Tell me you remember the Daleks.
No, sorry.
That's not possible.
So after the air race lets everyone know it's all clear, the Ironside Dalek offers Bracewell a cup of tea.
Would you care for some tea?
That would be very nice, thank you.
The Doctor tries to get Bracewell to know what the Daleks really are. So Winston Churchill came in. Sorry, every time I say Churchill, I'm thinking of this puppet dog in an advert.
A courtesy car while you're fixing mine?
Oh, yes.
Oh, and can I have my own personal chauffeur called Les?
No.
But I could still save up to 150 quid on my car insurance.
Oh, yes.
After the Ironside Dalek offered the Doctor a cup of tea, the Doctor immediately kicks off asking what that Dalek wants, and he decides to batter a Dalek with a big spanner with rage, and Matt Smith's acting is incredible. When he mentions that the Daleks are everything the Doctor hates, you can feel how much he hates the Daleks for what they do.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the heat flow through you.
Sorry, I had to put that in. So after he kicks a Dalek across the room, both have transmitted testimony to the Dalek ship, so the both Ironside Daleks are evil. They killed 2 soldiers and shot Bracewell's hand off, as apparently the Daleks created him. So both Ironside Daleks transported to the Dalek saucers, so the Doctor went after them. Winston Churchill is obviously a Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during World War II from 1940 until 1945. Then he became back as the Prime Minister in 1951 until 1955. Ian McNeice did a splendid job. The way he played the character is how I imagined Winston Churchill can be. Bill Patterson is great as Professor Bracewell. The character as a bomb and how to deactivate the bomb is remind him of the love of his life. At least Nick Briggs voiced the Daleks again. I think everyone did a great job. I like the bits where the Doctor tricks the Daleks that the Jammy Dodger is a TARDIS self-destruct button.
One move and I'll destroy us all. You got that?
TARDIS, bang, bang, Daleks, boom!
But they managed to turn all the power on, so Winston and his people are sitting ducks. I love the bit where the new Daleks came out, and sad to see the other 3 old Daleks leaving. I used to call them Rainbow Daleks as they're different colours, and they do have names like the Cult of Skaro. From left to right there's Drone, Scientist, Supreme, Strategist and Eternal.
You must be exterminated.
Don't mess with me, sweetheart.
The new Daleks know it's not a TARDIS self-destruct button, so the Doctor made his way back to the TARDIS, and we get Star Wars vibes when there's Spitfires fighting Dalek ships in space. So the Daleks gave the Doctor a choice: either deactivate the bomb that Bracewell is to save the Earth, or stop the Daleks. So the Doctor chooses the Earth. He returned to punch Bracewell in the face, and there's a bomb, so he keeps telling him that he's human.
You, my friend, are a human being!
But it didn't work. So Amy asks Bracewell if he fell in love with someone, and apparently he does, a lass called Dorabella, which got the bomb deactivated.
Dorabella.
And the Daleks escaped. which bothered the Doctor. So in the end, the Doctor gets his TARDIS key back, he says goodbye to Winston and Bracewell, and he says that he always worries about the Daleks and Amy should have remembered them. As the TARDIS dematerialised, there's a same crack on the wall. Scary. So yeah, another great episode. It's a shame that Mark Gatiss episodes gets a lot of hate. I think he's done great episodes. Anyway, what did you think of this episode? If you have positive things to say about it, that would be nice. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. I do like the design of these Daleks, I think they're pretty cool. KBO. Doctor Who The Time of Angels, the 4th episode of Series 5, is written by Stephen Moffat and starring Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. So Stephen Moffat wanted to do a sequel to Blink with two-part story by bringing the Weeping Angels back. Apparently compared the relationship to the movie Alien and sequel Aliens, with the former being more low-key and the latter more highly coloured, and he thought that Aliens was the best conceived movie sequel ever, to be almost like a war. He also brought back Alex Kingston as River Song, who appeared in Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead two-part story.
You've got all of that to come. You and me. Time and space. You watch us run.
And he takes the inspiration from a book, The Time Traveller's Wife, in which a woman falls in love with a man who unintentionally moves through time, and also used that inspiration in The Girl in the Fireplace. Alex Kingston didn't expect to return, but Moffat always wanted River to return to the show. So the story begins with a guy playing on a roundabout in the park with hygienic lipstick on him, and Simon Dutton's character Alistair, an acquaintance of River Song, came with two guards and realised that the guy has been kissed by River and realised she's there on his ship. So there's River in a nice black dress with red high heels using a gun to burn the face of the box. 12,000 years later from that timeline, the Doctor and Amy visit to a museum. As the Doctor is like, wrong, 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 and he mentions the headless monks, he reads the translation on the box with River's iconic line, "Hello, sweetie." I just find it funny the way the Doctor said it, like he knows it's River trying to find him, and he's like, "Yes, you're very funny, River."
Hello, sweetie.
So they nix the box and get chased by guards, so they run back into the TARDIS. So the Doctor sees River on the scanner, who's confronted by Alistair and his guards, so she advised them to find something to hang on to, so they did, as she opened the airlock and floating in space, and the Doctor catched her. Funny thing about this scene is that Alex Kingston actually kneed on Matt Smith in the nuts, which must be painful. River tells the Doctor to follow that ship, apparently learned to fly the TARDIS and made it boring for the Doctor. So they arrived on the planet Alpha Metrotraxis. After River went out, the Doctor wanted to run away from her timeline if he wants to, but he promised Amy a planet, so they went out and sees Byzantium crash landed. We know River has got a diary containing the Doctor's future events.
What is it, though?
Her diary.
Our diary.
Her past, my future.
So the four army men, one of them is Father Octavian, arrives. River introduced him and she asks the Doctor what he knows about the Weeping Angels. Give me the goosebumps.
Doctor, what do you know of the Weeping Angels?
I loved Amy's line when she calls the Doctor Mr. Grumpy Face. So they go inside a drop ship to see the footage of a Weeping Angel. As everyone but Amy is out, she gets sealed in, and there's a recording of a Weeping Angel come in towards Amy, which is pretty intense.
Just keep switching back on!
And they do explore more of those angels' ability in Flux Once Upon a Time and Village of the Angels, which is so cool. And by the way, that's the leather sofa, not me. As you can see, even Amy kept switching it off, it kept switching itself back on, so eventually, after when she got told not to look at the angel in the eye, she did. She managed to freeze the recording and she's safe. So later, the Doctor, Amy, River, Father Octavian, and the soldiers go down to the maze of the dead full of broken statues. We learn that River has been imprisoned, but we never know until eventually in Series 6. Ian Glenn played Father Octavian, who deployed River Song and a Bishop second class, and I think he did a fantastic job. There's also David Atkins, who played Bob, who's one of Octavian's soldiers and became a Weeping Angel, but his conscience gets copied. There's Darren Morfitt, Mark Springer, Troy Glasgow, Mark Monroe, and George Russo, who played Marco, Christian, Angelo, Pedro and Philip, Octavian soldiers. They did a great job as well. As everyone has a look around the maze, Angelo gets killed by a weeping angel, but they copied his voice to get a couple of soldiers, including Bob, to go and see something, and their necks get snapped by weeping angels. The moment where everyone realise that they're all weeping angels, they make a run for it. Amy's hand turned to stone, which is how the Doctor finds out Amy has looked at the statue in the eye. So after he bit the stone off her, they ended up trapped in the tunnel. So the Doctor uses Octavian's gun to shoot at the gravity globe, which leads to a cliffhanger.
There's one thing you never ever put in a trap.
And what would that be, sir?
Me.
This is a great episode. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who, Flesh and Stone, the 5th episode of Series 5, is written by Stephen Moffat and starring Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. So yes, Stephen Moffat came up with the worst possible situations to be in with the Weeping Angels. His first idea was blindness, but then got Amy to close her eyes for a reason. The title of this episode was suggested by Moffat's son, and he took it, which is nice. This episode explains a bit more of cracks in time and space, where Amy can't remember the events that happened in previous episodes, like Daleks moving Earth to Medusa Cascade or Cybermen invasion in Doomsday, and no one will remember Cyber King marching over Victorian London. So the Doctor, Amy, River, Father Octavian and his soldiers who survived have ended up in the ceiling, and they go through the corridor of Byzantium getting chased by the Weeping Angels, which is pretty intense.
Fire!
Eventually they reached the flight deck and sealed the door, and they found themselves in the forest.
Tree Borgs! Trees? Plus technology!
And there's Amy counting down numbers, so everyone. But the Doctor went into the forest and the Weeping Angels arrived, and one of them grabbed the Doctor by his jacket, surprisingly not sending him back in time, so he got free. River explains if the Doctor dies, she'll never forgive herself. If the Doctor's still alive, she'll never forgive him. And I found it funny when she's like, "And Doctor, you're standing right behind me," and the Doctor's like, "Oh yeah." Then River tells him that she hates him, and the Doctor is like, "You don't." They find out why Amy is counting down as she's dying, so eventually they got her to close her eyes to hold the countdown.
Do it's afraid, do it. Close your eyes.
Angel Bob is a weeping angel using the copy of Bob's voice to wind the Doctor up. So while the Doctor, River and Octavian returned to the flight deck, the weeping angels were coming towards the others as they saw the light. 3 soldiers went close to it. After that, Marco doesn't remember them. Amy does because she time travelled with the Doctor. So Marco went to the light along with the soldiers. They were removed from the existence. Meanwhile, Father Octavian gets strangled by a weeping angel, and there's nothing the Doctor can do to save him. He tells him not to trust River's son because she killed a very good man. So after Octavian dies, the Doctor uses a communicator to get Amy to move through the forest past the Weeping Angels to get back to the flight deck. When she tripped over and trying to find a radio, it was so creepy when we see the Weeping Angels moved. It's not something you'd see every day, but luckily River teleports Amy to the flight deck and the Doctor meets Angel Bob.
There is a rupture in time. The angels calculate that if you throw yourself into it, it will close and they will be saved.
And he explains the crack will destroy their reality if left unchecked. We get a great moment when he tells Amy and River to get a grip, meaning to find a place to hold on to. As gravity fails, all Weeping Angels in the Byzantium get sent to crack. So later on, back on the planet's surface, the Doctor sees River with handcuffs. She also said that the Doctor will see her again when the Pandorica opens.
You'll see me again quite soon, when the Pandorica opens.
So the Doctor and Amy went to Amy's house to show him the wedding dress, and she's marrying Rory on the next day. So Amy decides to keep kissing the Doctor, but the Doctor is like, "You can't have me, I'm 907 years old." Apparently they had to keep refilming that scene because Matt Smith kept kissing Karen Gillan back, which I can't blame him. So yeah, another great episode. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who, The Vampires of Venice, the 6th episode of Series 5, is written by Toby Whitehouse and starring Matt Smith, Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill. So Toby originally planned an episode to set in some sort of labyrinth, but Stephen Moffat and Piers Wenger thought it would be too similar to other episodes. And his other original idea was pushed to Series 6, The God Complex, and he's asked to write a big, bold, romantic episode and set it anywhere on Earth. So Toby chose Venice because it's one of his favourite places on Earth. Great choice, and he believed that vampires are perfect fitting for Venice. The script was originally too long and some of it had to be cut, even some of them when they filmed it. So this episode opens with Guido presents his daughter Isabella to be enrolled for school in front of Rosanna and her son Francesco. So they said yes and Guido left. I thought it was creepy when Francesco and Rosanna walked around Isabella and Francesco showed his vampire teeth. Originally that was going to lead to title sequence, but the director of this episode, Johnny Campbell, thought it would work better if they pushed it after when the Doctor crashed Rory's stag party to make it fun. So there's Rory and his mate celebrating their wedding day, and we get a funny scene where the Doctor came out of the paper cake and tells Rory that Amy kissed him.
She tried to kiss me. Tell you what though, you're a lucky man. She's a great kisser.
Oops. So after the title sequence, Rory is in the TARDIS with Amy and the Doctor. Sadly, Rory didn't say it's bigger on the inside, which was something that the Doctor was looking forward to.
I like the bit when someone says it's bigger on the inside. I always look forward to that.
So he asked them where would they like to go. So they ended up on Venice. 1580. Funny thing is, the Doctor mentioned Casanova, and there's a show called Casanova starring David Tennant as Casanova, produced by Russell T Davies and Judy Gardner. Meanwhile, Guido wanted to know where his daughter Isabella is, but he gets pushed by one of the vampire girls, and they walked off. The Doctor asks Guido what was going on, and he explains that something evil happens to the girls in the school, and Isabella didn't recognise him. Meanwhile, Rory is upset that the Doctor is right, but Amy gets him to enjoy their time on Venice, and he is mind blown on what year it is.
We are in Venice, and it is 1580.
So after the screaming, they noticed that Francesco is a vampire who bit a flower girl to death, so they went after him and he's disappeared somewhere. While Guido tries to get the gods to let him in, the Doctor got himself inside. He went down to the cellar and looks at the mirror, and there's quite a few girls in white dresses asking him who he is. The Doctor accidentally showed them his library card with a photo of the first Doctor, William Hartnell. As the vampires went to approach the Doctor, he ran off and met up with Amy, and they both are excited that they met the vampires, and Rory warns them.
Tell me the whole plan!
One day that'll work.
So later on, the Doctor, Amy, Rory and Guido plans a way to get into the school to get Isabella out. So Rory and Amy pretended to be siblings so Amy gets to be in the school. While Rory gets sent out, Amy goes up the stairs with creepy girls lurking around. So she goes in the bedroom and meets Isabella, and she tells Amy about the dungeon where you get surgeon. While the Doctor and Rory sneaks in, I love the line where Rory was like, yours is bigger than mine, and the Doctor's like, let's not go there, when they're talking about the torchlight size. That's pretty amusing. So there's vampires coming after them. While Amy gets strapped onto the chair, she managed to damage Rosanna's perception filter as it reveals that they're not vampires, they're alien fish. Helen McCrory played Rosanna Calvieri, the leader of the vampires, escaped from Kraken time, and she has her son Francesco played by Alex Price. Those two did so well, they're terrifying. Lucian Msamati played Guido, who's a Venetian shipbuilder, and has a daughter, Isabella, played by Alicia Bailey, who got sent to Rosanna Calvieri's school. Saturnans are the name of the species that are alien sea creatures disguise themselves as vampires, and they're from the planet Saturnine, and I think they're pretty scary. Ah! Even in Doctor Who prom, Simon Gregor played Carla, a human servant of Saturnans. So after Amy gets captured by Carlo, she gets strapped onto a chair in the dungeon, and the psychic paper didn't work on Rosanna, so she bit Amy, And Helen McCrory suggested that her character should hurt Amy at some point, so they did that, and I think it works effectively. So the Doctor came by saying, "Cab for Amy Pond." Isabella sets Amy free and everyone made a run for it. Sadly, Isabella can go outside because the sunlight is burning her skin, so she gets taken away by the Saturnans. The Doctor tries to help her as the door is sealing, and she drops the torch. As he touched the metal, he got electric shock. And because of Isabella's betrayal, she's to be punished, and she thinks that they expect her to drown, but she can swim, but it wasn't that. She gets devoured by Rosanna's children. So then the Doctor sat on Rosanna's throne, so she explained the Doctor that they escaped from cracking time and space and ran away from silence.
And through others we saw silence. And the end of all things.
What bothered the Doctor is that Isabella died without Rosanna knowing her name, so the Doctor left. The Doctor, Amy, Rory and Garrido has a brain-thinking meeting. Then Saturnans break in, so everyone got out except Garrido, who barricaded himself in with the Saturnans. So he uses a candle to light the explosive barrel, which exploded the house.
We are Benedictines!
So now he's joined his daughter, and all the female vampires died, except Rosanna obviously, as she created a deadly storm over Venice. So after the Doctor ordered Amy and Rory to the TARDIS, we get a hilarious fight scene between Rory and Francesco, especially when he called him SpongeBob, making a shape of a cross, telling him his mum is ugly, and Rory using a broom while Francesco is using a sword. After when he became his true form and jumped on Rory, Amy uses a mirror for sunlight to vaporize Francesco to death. So then they went to help the Doctor, and yes, the Doctor rants at them for not listening to him. However, he gets Amy and Rory to destroy the control hub in the throne room, while the Doctor climbs onto the church roof and he stops the mechanism and the weather turns normal. Hurrah! And you see the crack in space and time shape on the clouds. Sadly, Rosanna is devastated. The Doctor tried to reason with her, but she wanted him to remember her species, as they're extinct. So she jumped in the river and gets eaten by her sons, as they don't recognize her in human form.
Dream of us.
So later, the Doctor, Amy and Rory arrived at the TARDIS. I think it's nice that Rory gets to travel with them. The Doctor noticed silence and empty street in Venice, as it was packed but now it's empty, and he remembers Rosanna saying the silence and the end of all things. Man, what an episode. Murray Gold's music is fantastic, especially the bit where the Doctor climbs onto the church roof when they use that for a Christmas Carol trailer. This is a fantastic and scary episode. What did you think when you saw it? Did the alien vampire scare you all? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who, Amy's Choice, the 7th episode of Series 5. Is written by Simon Nye and starring Matt Smith, Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill.
Yeah, and what Tony's doing now is going around and nicely ensuring that the barbecue stays under control.
Simon Nye is known to write a British sitcom, Men Behaving Badly, went to read-throughs to catch the Doctor's and Amy's voices, and he resisted from changing from science fiction into comedy. He said it was fun and hugely liberating. Stephen Moffat suggested an idea of the dream split to Simon Nye, taking inspiration from his own dreams and sometimes wondering if they were real. So he did, as he believed that it's consistent with other alternate universes within Doctor Who. Simon came up with an idea of old people possessed by ecnodine, as he was scared of old people when he was a child. He did admit that it wasn't intentionally getting kids to be scared of their grandparents or other old people. Some scenes were shot at Skenfrith Castle. So the dream world's set in 2015, 5 years after Series 5 got released. There's Amy pregnant, baking, and shouts Rory as she's in pain.
Okay. False alarm.
Which turns out to be false alarm, so the Doctor arrives squashing Amy's flowers with the TARDIS and noticed Amy is pregnant, so they walk down to the village in Ledworth, sat on the bench and decide to take a nap.
Old.
Karen Gillan had to wear a latex prosthetic stomach bump for the scenes that depicted Amy as pregnant. She said it made her feel more mature and act ridiculously, and also said it as her favourite part of filming the series. Arthur Darvill wore a wig for the aged Rory, which was trimmed to look more masculine and pulled back in a ponytail. In the other reality, the 2010 version of the TARDIS team woke up and they happened to have the same dream as each other, and figuring out that something isn't right, so they took a nap, and the TARDIS team in the dream world woke up and visit to an old people's home, and the Doctor tries a jumper that Mrs. Poggett knitted for her grandson because they're similar sizes. I think Matt looks good in that jumper. The Doctor noticed that Mrs. Poggett is older than she looks, so they fall asleep again. So back in their TARDIS, the light and heater turns off and they're freezing. They met Toby Jones' character in Matt Smith's clothes called Dream Lord.
What should we call me? Well, if you're the Time Lord, let's call me the Dream Lord.
Nice look.
A psychic manifestation of the dark side of the Doctor, kinda like Valiard, and I think he's fantastic. I love his line when he said, "Tweet tweet, time to sleep."
Tweet tweet, time to sleep. Oh, or are you waking up?
So the TARDIS team in the dream world woke up and all people were gone. So they went outside. The Doctor shouts the village is dull, which made Amy pranking the Doctor that the baby is not coming out and tell him not to call it dull again. So they sat on the swings as the kids and the parents are leaving the park with Mrs. Poggett lurking around. Back in the TARDIS, the team notices that they're flying towards a cold star and they have 40 minutes before they die of hypothermia. I love the line where Rory's like, call for help, and the Doctor is like, oh yeah, the universe is so small, there's bound to be someone nearby. Might be worth a shot. So in the dream world, the Doctor sees a pile of dust and those were people that's killed by Ecnodines.
Playtime's definitely over.
They're the race of aliens that took over the bodies of old people. Not sure if they actually exist in Whoniverse or just a dream world. I like those aliens, they're a bit of Resident Evil vibes. While there's Dream Lord appearing with different clothes every now and then, the group of old people coming after the TARDIS team, and one of the Ecnodines turned Postman into dust.
Morning.
As they escape, I was like, whoa! When Rory whack a wood on an old lady. Well, I know she's an Ecnodine, but whoa. The first take on that scene was Arthur Darvill missing actress Joan Linda, and then the second take was Joan Linda's stunt double, whom he was allowed to hit. And funny thing is, during the second take where he whacked the stunt double, Arthur Darvill accidentally broke the wooden plank prop. So the Doctor ran into the butcher shop with Dreamlord behind the counter, so the Doctor locks himself into the storeroom while Amy and Rory went back to their house. Amy fell asleep, so Rory dragged her up the stairs without trying to hurt her, so he brought Amy into a bedroom where the child will sleep in and barricade the door. Meanwhile, in the TARDIS, they were covered in ice. Dreamlord gave Amy the choice on which world is real.
It's you they're waiting for. Amy's men. Amy's choice.
So after the Doctor woke up and got himself out of the butcher shop, we get a great moment. Even though it's a dream, he saves people from Ecnodines by letting them on the bus. So after he's made it to Amy's house, sadly Mrs. Poggett vaporised Rory, which is a sad scene and Rory's first death scene. Simon Nye wanted to prove that Amy really loved Rory, and he was not just a cipher boyfriend or fiancé. Amy realised it's a dream.
Because if this is real life, I don't want it. I don't want it.
So the Doctor and Amy got in the bus and crashed. The Dream Lord congratulated Amy, so everyone wake up. After the Doctor exploded the TARDIS, everything's back to normal. We get a scary moment where, in the end, the Dream Lord is in the reflection haunting the Doctor. So yeah, I think this is a fantastic episode. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who The Hungry Earth, the 8th episode of Series 5. is written by Chris Chibnall and starring Matt Smith, Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill. So yeah, Stephen Moffat hired Chris Chibnall to write a two-part story, and Piers Wenger suggested Silurians, who last appeared on screen Warriors of the Deep.
And these human beings will die as they have lived, in a sea of their own blood.
So Chris Chibnall read Doctor Who and the Cave Monsters novel and watched Doctor Who and the Silurian story.
Hello. Are you a Silurian?
And Chibnall took the things from novel that Malcolm Hull couldn't do on television and create a large city for Silurians under the surface. Though aware that Silurians are not as popular as monsters like Cybermen, Daleks and more. And he introduced them in a scary and terrifying way. They were planning to bring back sea devils as well, but decided that doing two races of monsters was much tougher, and the story is just focusing on Silurians and what they want. Both two-part stories are filmed in the Upper Boat Studio, Llanwna in Wales, in the late October and November 2009. So the story begins with Mo, not the guy working in the bar from The Simpsons, Mo Northover in Doctor Who reads the Gruffalo book to his son Elliot, who has dyslexic and can only listen to books. So then he went off to work on a night shift in a drilling project that was running by his father-in-law Tony Mack and Nazarene Chowdhury. So while he sits at his desk, the CCTV camera seems to go off, so he checked to see if everything's alright, but he noticed a big hole with smoke and then gets taken underground. So the TARDIS team arrived in Boomtaff on the next day. The Doctor does a bit of a jump, and Amy in a sexy outfit seemed to be disappointed because she was expecting to be at Rio. They saw the future Amy and Rory, so Rory decided not to allow Amy to run around with her ring on because it's expensive. So as the Doctor and Amy heads off, Rory puts Amy's ring back inside the TARDIS, and he ended up meeting Mo's wife Ambrose, who thinks Rory is a police, judging by police box, and told him about the corpses in the grave disappeared, so he went to investigate. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Amy let themselves in to that mine gate. I love the Doctor's line when he says, "Sonicking and entering."
That is breaking and entering.
Where I break? Sonicking and entering. Totally different.
Well, they did say breaking and entering is illegal, but didn't say anything about sonicking and entering, so yeah. So they met Nazarene in the mine, who's investigating the hole, and the Doctor looks at the readings. Just after when Tony arrives, there's more holes coming, and Amy got sunk into one, and the Doctor kept trying to pull her back up, but he failed and Amy got taken.
Stay calm. Now hold on. They can just shut down the drill.
I can't hold on!
Apparently, Karen Gillan stood on boxes and lowered herself into a stone compartment. There were two pieces of rubber were at the opening of the compartment, which expanded as she lowered herself down. A layer of soil was spread across the rubber. Karen Gillan's ears were taped to make sure that the soil does not get inside her ears. And apparently Karen was scared of performing that stunt because putting some of her fear and claustrophobia into the scene, as she expected Amy felt the same way.
Where is she?
She's gone. So the Doctor figures out that there's something under the ground that's taken Amy, so they grab the scanners and the sky turns dark, and there's Rory telling the Doctor that the ground are eating bodies and wonders where Amy is. The Doctor promised Rory that he'll find Amy, so that the local church, they set up a network of cameras and security alarms around the church, and using Nazarene's scanner to monitor the pods while Elliot draws a map. Elliot has left his headphones, so the Doctor, while got distracted, let him go. Apparently Chris Chibnall enjoyed the Doctor separating from his companions, and Stephen Moffat thought it would be appropriate that the Doctor behaves differently with other people. Meera Syal played Nazarene Chowdhury, who's a geologist digging down into the earth further than any other human ever had before. With this episode being Amy Light, Chris Chibnall thought that Nazarene would be a practice companion. I really love that character. It would be nice if she was a companion. Meera Syal described her character as a very high up, innovative geologist, and she's been a fan of the show since childhood. Robert Pugh, who played old Jonah in Torchwood Adrift in this episode, played Tony Mack, who works with Nazarene. He has a daughter, Ambrose, and grandson, Elliot. His son-in-law, Mo, played by Alan Raglan, does a night shift for a drilling project run and gets kidnapped by the Silurians in the beginning. Nia Roberts played Ambrose, who lives in the village of Comtaf and has a son called Elliot, played by Samuel Davis. Elliot has dyslexic and he can't read books, so he preferred listen to them on audio, and seems to have great interests with Sherlock Holmes. Cast did an amazing job, their acting is great. Silurians, aka Homo reptilia, are Earth reptile. They live on Earth long before humans did, and they came to attack because they want the Earth back. And I do love the Silurian race, as they're pretty interesting. Stephen Moffat requested a new look to differentiate them from the 1970s look. The redesign aimed to make sure the Silurians are beautiful and more relatable, enhancing the story's theme of human-reptilian similarity. It also allows actors to act through prosthetics instead of stiff masks, and removing third eye to avoid looking similar to Davros. When Ambrose found out that the Doctor let Elliot go, he arrived at the church with Silurian around, so they tried their best to open the door, and by the time they did that, Elliot is gone. Ambrose is devastated but was about to get attacked by Silurian, but everyone helped and Tony gets attacked by the lizard tongue of a Silurian. So they manage to capture a Silurian while Amy is beneath the surface in a glass container. She gets put to sleep by a gas after a scientist shushed her. The Doctor unmasked the Silurian, who introduced herself as Alea, played by wonderful actress Neve McIntosh. So the Doctor explains his plan to Nazarene, Tony, Ambrose and Rory. So he goes to the TARDIS and Nazarene went with him. The Doctor advised her not to, as it could be dangerous, and I love it when she says, "So is crossing the road." It's brilliant, and fair point.
I don't have time to argue.
I thought we were in a rush.
It'll be dangerous.
Yes, that's crossing the road.
Oh, for goodness sake. All right then, come on.
So it gets taken underground. So there's Amy and Mo tied up on the chamber, and apparently Mo has already been dissected, which is horrifying, and it looks like a scientist Silurian was about to do the same thing with Amy. Uh-oh. So the Doctor Nazarene finds a Silurian city, which leads to cliffhanger.
Maybe more than a dozen. Maybe more like an entire civilization living beneath the earth.
Wow, what an episode. It's great that they brought Silurians back. I never know about them until this episode. What did you think of this episode? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Doctor Who Cold Blood, the 9th episode of Series 5, is written by Chris Chibnall and starring Matt Smith, Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill. So yes, Stephen Moffat and Piers Fenger hired Chris Chibnall to write this two-part story, The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, focusing on Silurians and a drill, and they set this second part in Silurian City, and Chibnall wanted this episode to be about people making mistakes, which is why he killed Alea off. Moffat obviously plans the story arc with the crack in space and time, and Rory getting killed off but coming back to life as Roman Orton in the Pandorica Opens. This episode utilised many different locations and unusual sets to play the part as the Silurian city, as the production team didn't want to supply a cave feel. They believed that the Silurians were also sophisticated and were able to use materials found underground, such as granite and marble. Many of the sets were given an orange glow from beneath to portray the ambient glow from the centre of the Earth. The jungle walkway leading to Silurian City was filmed in Plantasia Botanical Garden in Swansea on 13th of November 2009. The set gave a sense of things growing, as these were necessary for the Silurians to survive. Set designers were able to rearrange the plants, though they had to be careful not to show the window leading to the car park or other modern amenities. The courtroom, also the execution room as Restak calls it, where the Doctor is brought in for execution, was filmed at the Temple of Peace in Cardiff, and little dressing was done to the set.
This is the story of our planet, Earth, of the day 1,000 years past when we came to share it with the race known as humanity.
So this episode opens with Elday narrating, which is good opening. The Doctor and Nazarene gets captured by Silurians. A Silurian scientist, Malachi, leaves as he's got something to attend to. Amy has nicked the device from his pocket and got her and Mo free, so they went patrolling and found Silurians not even awake. So they took their guns, and Elliot is found wired up in the machine. but he's still alive. So there's Doctor screaming in pain and Nazarene on the straps getting examined by Restak.
No, complete the process.
Oh, that's much better, thanks.
The Doctor mentions celery, something that the Fifth Doctor usually wears. As soon as Ambrose found out that Tony has got venom on his blood, she confronts Alea for cure and threatened her with a taser. So eventually Ambrose used it twice. Well, first time Alea walked into it, and second time Ambrose used it on her and killed Alea.
I knew it would be you. The one with the most to lose. The weakest.
Rory and Tony arrived and he wasn't happy with his daughter, but then Tony gave her a bit of a sympathy as he hugged her.
My little girl. What have you done?
So the Doctor and Nazarene gets chained up in the courtroom as Restak plans to execute them. Then Amy and Mo arrive, and sadly their rescue plan didn't go well, and they get chained up as well. Niamh McIntosh played two different Silurians, Alea, a warrior who came to kidnap humans, and the Doctor was hoping she'd stay alive but Ambrose killed her. Alea has a sister, Restak, commander in their military, who's supposed to be a protector but she has hatred towards humans like her sister. And I think Niamh did a fantastic job, a wonderful actress. Richard Hope played Malachi, a scientist of a Silurian colony under Cwmtaf in Wales. He's a likeable Silurian, it's a shame they killed him off. Stephen Moore played Eldane, who's the leader of Silurian race where Cwmtaf is, and I think he's a great leader. Casts did a great job with their roles. So Restak managed to contact Rory, Ambrose and Tony on screen demanding where Alea is. Ambrose demands her family back, but Restak refused and she gets her soldiers to execute Amy.
Execute the girl.
No! No! Wait! Rory! She's not speaking fast! There is no need for this!
Then Malachi came in with Eldane to stop the execution and set them free. So he gets Restak run along. Later on, the Doctor gets Amy and Nazarene to talk with Eldane about sharing the planet with humans and Silurians.
We work together. This planet could achieve greatness.
So Malachi set Elliot free as he reunites with his dad, Mo. As everyone except Malachi return to the courtroom, Malachi noticed Restak as awaking all her soldiers, and she killed Malachi, which is a sad scene.
But this is war.
Sadly for Ambrose, Tony and Rory has to take Alea back even though she's dead. So they did, and Ambrose confessed that she did it, which made everyone, even Elliot and Mo, horrified with her. Eldane, despite looking upset, he seems to understand humans, that they wouldn't usually do that. So Restak came with her soldiers and sobbing over dead Alea. So, unsurprisingly, Restak orders her soldiers to execute Ambrose. Luckily, the Doctor saved her and everyone makes a run for it and into the lab. Tony shows everyone his green mark and Eldane doesn't have time to cure it. So he filled chamber with poison gas to send all Silurians back in their stasis, and Restak refused.
Toxic fumigation initiated. Return to private. This is not the order!
Which gives everyone enough time to escape, although Tony, Nazarene and Eldane decide to have 1,000-year sleep along with the Silurians.
Come and look for us.
So the Doctor, Amy, Mo, Ambrose and Elliot have reached to the TARDIS. Ambrose, Mo and Elliot went inside, and the Doctor, Amy and Rory noticed a crack, a time field, so he put his hand in there and caught something. So then Restak, who's dying of poisonous, was about to kill the Doctor, but Rory got in the way and got blasted. I was not expecting that when I first watched it. I was really sad because I thought that's the last time we saw Rory as he's dead. Because the light is touching Rory, he's been removed from existence. The Doctor had no choice but to drag Amy into the TARDIS and lock the door so she can't get out. And the TARDIS disappeared, and Amy really couldn't handle this very well. Karen's acting is fantastic. She thought it was incredibly challenging, which I bet, as she's making it truthful and believable, and she really pulled it off. Stephen Moffat thought it was appropriate, as the TARDIS team have been having fun, now it was time for a casualty, Rory's death is also connected with Chibnall's theme of making mistakes. It was the Doctor's fault as he stopped to look at the crack. So the Doctor tries to get Amy to think about Rory, but the TARDIS crash landed and Amy ended up forgetting him. It happened to Amy because Rory lives in her world and time. Even though she's a time traveller, Amy still forgets about Rory. So after the drill exploded, Mo and Elliot left. Ambrose is surprised that the Doctor didn't let the Silurians kill her, but of course it's never the way. He tells her to make Elliot the best of humanity to make up for the murder of Alea.
Now you show your son how wrong you were. How there's another way. You make him the best of humanity.
After Amy waved at her future self, the Doctor realises that it was a TARDIS fragment, and he's really concerned. When I first saw that, I thought it was a piece of Chris and David's TARDIS, as that version got blown up. So that's cold blood, and sadly the reviewers were disappointed. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's a great episode. At least emotional Rory's death scene has been praised. So, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who, Vincent and the Doctor, the 10th episode of Series 5. Is written by Richard Curtis and starring Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. So yeah, Richard Curtis worked as an executive producer of Doctor Who and the Curse of the Fatal Death, created by Stephen Moffat. He got asked to write an episode and enjoyed historical episodes and happy to write one, so he decided to do Vincent van Gogh's story, where Vincent never knew he was famous and Curtis wanted to make it depressing and price paid. And he asked Stephen Moffat to criticise to what he's written, and Stephen said it needed to start quicker, and Piers Fenger and the director of this episode, Johnny Campbell, criticised it. So after the read-through, Richard Curtis felt more comfortable writing the episode, and he wanted to write Doctor Who episode because it was something that his kids would like. Originally, the episode was going to be called Eyes That See the Darkness, but Richard Curtis said that idea was vetoed. So obviously Vincent and the Doctor was decided. So when Richard Curtis put up prints of Van Gogh paintings around the house, as well as a board with index cards outlining the plot, and his kids helped him coming up with an idea, which is nice. Karen Gillan thought it was different style and approach and was more character driven, although it was a subject he knew quite a lot about. Curtis read a 200-page biography of Van Gogh, which was more research than he normally would have done if working on other projects. He took Van Gogh very seriously as such. He wanted to be truthful rather than cruel, and refused to write any jokes about Van Gogh's ears after he famously cut one of them off. However, he did incorporate, as he naturally wanted to try and make things funny, and he also said that casting an actor to play Van Gogh was done carefully, as he wanted him to feel to the audience as Van Gogh, not like a bloke they've seen acting lots of other parts in an orange wig. Curran, Smith and Gillan got to know each other very well, which Gillan hoped would be evident in their chemistry in the episode. So the episode was shot in Trogir in Croatia, the same location as the Vampires of Venice, which sees Trogir depicting 16th century Venice. So the filming took place around November 2009. The scenes at the church were shot at Llandaff Cathedral in Wales, and National Museum Cardiff doubled for the interior of the Musée d'Orsay. Some of the sets were intended to reference paintings such as Van Gogh's bedroom, one such set with a cafe where the Doctor and Amy first meet Van Gogh, which was modelled after the painting cafe Terrace at Night. This proved challenging for the art department, which looked extensively for a suitable building in Croatia to use. Once the artists found the one they wanted, they had to redesign it to look like the painting. This involved putting an awning up, changing the windows and adding a platform with tables and chairs. So this episode opens with wheat fields blowing and something is there with Vincent staring at it. At the present day, Dr. Black takes everyone, including the Doctor and Amy, on a tour to see paintings. When I first watched this episode, I thought the school kids were talking about the Doctor, but no, it was the Doctor in the painting who helped Vincent when he went mad. So the Doctor and Amy went in the TARDIS and arrived in Auvers-sur-Oise at Paris in 1890, and arrived outside the cafe, and there's Vincent trying to get that guy to take his painting for a drink, but he didn't accept it because he thought that painting isn't any good. So after the arguing, Amy tells them to shut up and ask for a wine and share the money with Vincent. So they sat down, getting to know each other, sort of. Apparently, poor little girl died of ripped to shreds in the street, which is dark, and they blamed Vincent for that. I was like, whoa! So they threw stones at the Doctor, Amy and Vincent, so then the Doctor and Amy stayed at Vincent's house for a bit. The Doctor plans to stay until the Vincent paints the church, so then Vincent seems to lose his mind by fighting thin air. After that he drew a creature that only he can see, so the Doctor takes it to the TARDIS, and I love the bit we see photos of the first and second Doctor, William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton. I always love the classic series Easter eggs. So the Doctor uses species matcher to identify invisible creature, Crephaeus. They're spacefaring omnivores, predators, and this one is only seen by Vincent. No one else can see it. It's pretty intense in the scene where the Doctor runs away from it. As soon as it's gone, he bumps into Amy, so they wake Vincent up, and he didn't seem to like sunflowers as he found them complex.
Find them complex. Always somewhere between living and dying. Half human as they turn to the sun. A little disgusting.
And the Doctor told what that Crephaeus is, so later on, Vincent is crying in bed. This is an emotional scene.
Come on, let's go outside.
Out! Get out! What are you doing here? What are you doing?
I really do feel sorry for Vincent. Tony Curran's acting in that is so incredible. Vincent van Gogh was a painter who sadly wasn't famous and considered to be a failure until he passed away in 1890 as he shot himself. He suffered intense mental illness like anxiety and depression. Poor guy. Bill Nighy played Dr. Henry Black, who's an art expert and a fan of Vincent's work. And I think Bill Nighy is a fantastic actor. He's so good in this, and I like the moments where the Doctor and Dr. Black liking each other's bow ties.
Nice bow tie. Bow ties are cool. Yours is very... Oh, thank you. I mean, keep telling them stuff. We need to go.
Bill Nighy was originally considered for the role as the Ninth Doctor, but I think he turned it down. Plus, Johnny Campbell found it very fortunate to have Bill Nighy in the role, who he believed was someone people paid attention to, and the audience needed to pay attention to his character as he said facts, which would become important later in the story. So Vincent got ready, so he, the Doctor and Amy went up to that church, and there's a funeral for that girl who savagely got murdered by Crephaeus. So then Vincent started painting that church. As he finishes, he spotted Crephaeus in the church window, so the Doctor went in and he's having trouble finding that creature, but then it attacks the Doctor, so Amy arrived and hid in the cupboard. But because they're whispering and Crephaeus has impressive hearing, the Crephaeus broke into a cupboard, so Vincent has a fight with it and stabbed it with the legs of the easel, and it's emotional that Crephaeus died. So then the Doctor, Amy and Vincent lay on the grass looking at the stars, which is a nice moment. Another nice scene is when the Doctor, Amy and Vincent went to that museum in 2010 and having a look at his paintings. The Doctor sees Dr. Black again, and Vincent overheard his opinion about Vincent and his work, and he really thanked him. So they left, and Dr. Black was thinking that he saw Vincent for a moment, but then went back to what he was doing. I would love to see his response when he finds out that it's Vincent, and see how the conversation will go. So then they took Vincent back to his time, and then arrived back at the museum again, and sadly it didn't make much change for Vincent's life. The song was played during the ending scene as Chances by Athlete, which is very moving. It really fits in the scene perfectly. Man, this episode is well written and very emotional. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who The Lodger, the 11th episode of Series 5. is written by Gareth Roberts and starring Matt Smith, Karen Gillan and James Corden. So Gareth based that episode from his comic in Doctor Who magazine where the 10th Doctor stayed at Mickey's flat while waiting for Rose Tyler and the TARDIS to catch him up in a few days, and by chance saving the Earth by hiding it from the passing space fleet of a violent alien race. Gareth as a child imagines the Doctor experiencing everyday human life and his enjoyment of stories set on Earth rather than in space. And Stephen Moffat is like, you got to do the Lodger episode. Human Nature was also similar, as Paul Cornell adapts from his novel to the episode. During the early writing stages, Gareth had planned an episode, a sequel to a classic era story, Meglos, with the eponymous antiologist of that story returning whilst disguised as an old woman, with the episode being facetiously referred to by some as Mrs. Meglos. For this reason, although the sequel idea would later be dropped due to several concepts within it having already been utilised in multiple other Doctor Who episodes written around the same time. Meglos' cactus-like appearance was deemed to be far too similar to the Vin Bocci that appeared in The End of Time, and the idea of aliens disguise themselves as elderly people had already been done in Amy's Choice. This episode made up the 7th and final production block of the series, along with Amy's Choice. The read-through for both episodes took place on 17th of February 2010 in the Upper Bow Studios. The story replaced another one, The Doctor's Wife, when the latter was pushed back to the next series due to budgetary constraints. On early March 2010, location filming took place in Cardiff. The house in which Craig has his flat is in Westville Road. So the TARDIS appeared, the Doctor came out and something knocked him off his feet and the TARDIS disappeared with Amy, leaving the Doctor behind. So this is pretty much Amy Light episode.
I think I can see a Ryman's.
So later on, a teenage bloke walks by and there's an old man asking for his help as something terrible has happened. So he went up the stairs with the creepy music. Man, that's scary.
Please help me.
So downstairs, Craig and Sophie plans a pizza boost telly and notice the mark on the ceiling, and Craig said it was just some bloke living upstairs. James Corden, who's known to be in Gavin and Stacey and The Late Late Show with James Corden, he played Craig Owens in Doctor Who lives in a flat and works in Colchester. I really love this character and James is brilliant. I loved his chemistry with the Doctor, they should bring him back as Craig. Daisy Haggett played Sophie, Craig's friend, then later girlfriend, and she's great as well. Because Sophie's friend had a break up, she had to leave to support her friend. Craig is wishing that he could ask her out, as Sophie has left her keys, so he went to answer the door when he says, "I love you," and it turns out to be the Doctor.
I love you. Well, that's good, because I'm your new lodger.
So he gave Craig a bag full of £20 notes and letting himself in, and I like it when he does the side kiss. So he shows the Doctor his room where it was used to be Mark's, but he moved out because his uncle, who he never heard of, passed away and left a load of money in the will. So the Doctor decides to cook himself an omelette while Amy is having trouble landing the TARDIS. I love the bit when he said he learned to cook in Paris 18th century, no 17th, no 20th, not used to in the right order. And you can tell he's an alien and he doesn't understand much about humans.
That was absolutely brilliant. Where did you learn to cook?
Paris in the 18th century. No, hang on, that's not recent, is it?
So at night, the Doctor talks to Amy on communicator and Craig phones Sophie. A woman who seems like she's walking from nightclub came by, and it was a young bloke who claims that his daughter got hurt. So he tricked that lass into going upstairs and getting killed, which affects the TARDIS. So the next day, the Doctor is in the shower singing La Donnerie Mobile.
Doctor?
Which, funny enough, John Pertwee sang that in the beginning of Inferno. So Craig kept hearing banging, so he went upstairs to see what was going on, which made the Doctor concerned, so the old bloke told Craig that he didn't need his help and closed the door. It is pretty amusing that the Doctor with funny hair in a towel and mistakenly using Craig's toothbrush as he thought it was his sonic screwdriver.
What happened? What's going on? Is that my toothbrush?
Correct. You spoke to the man upstairs?
Yeah.
What did he look like?
more normal than you do at the moment, mate.
Apparently it was a different situation in the comic strip, as the Doctor didn't know Craig, as he did with Mickey, and there was an added enemy of the upstairs apartment. When Gareth Roberts started writing for the episodes, he knew the series' overarching plot but was not aware it was to be casted as the 11th Doctor, so Gareth based the Doctor's lines on those written in Moffat's completed scripts, and further characterization was added by Matt Smith's reading of the lines. And I loved Craig's line where he says, "Come and save me with my toothbrush." When I was a kid, I was thinking they should do a British sitcom series called Come and Save Me with My Toothbrush. I know, it's random, but I think it works. So anyway, Sophie came by and meets the Doctor, and well, he's up for a football match. And I think the football scene is awesome. And it's funny that the fact that it is the same guy, but with different face. I don't think we would have seen William Hartnell as the Doctor doing that. The location for the football match was Victoria Park, the play area that had previously been used as a location in Forest of the Dead. Matt Smith performed his own athletics in the football match shots, as he did have past experience as a youth footballer, having played for the youth teams of Northampton Town, in Nottingham Forest and Leicester City, before a back injury led him into acting career. As such, little choreography was needed for the sequence. So after the Doctor got so good at football, a woman hears a little girl asking for help in Craig's flat. She said she lost her mum, so the woman came upstairs and got killed with the time loop where Craig opens the can and getting sprayed. So the Doctor got Amy to stop the TARDIS from going into the vortex, and he said it might happen. So in the evening, Craig and Sophie noticed that Mark is getting worse, and the Doctor appeared out of nowhere and doesn't seem to like wine, and he suggested to Sophie that she should travel.
Of course it's not true. I'm not staying in a call centre all my life. I can do anything I want. Oh yeah, right.
The Doctor has managed to build a serious mega gizmo, which is non-technological technology of Lammas steam. So Craig touched the Mark and got electric shock, so then the Doctor came into his room the next morning, and Craig seemed to be unwell, and the Doctor's noticed the mark on his arm. So he grabbed some stuff from the bin and elsewhere in the kitchen with a stack of tea bags and managed to make him better, so he advised him to rest. But Craig said he needed to go to work for planning meeting, so Craig woke up 7 hours and a half later and quickly got dressed and ran to work in a call centre. The Doctor happens to be there. He fired the client, and he's done pretty well in the planning meeting.
Love the Doctor. He was brilliant in the planning meeting.
You went to the planning meeting?
Yes, I was your representative. We don't need Mr. Lang anymore. Rude Mr. Lang.
So Craig goes home and sees Mega Gizmo, so the Doctor arrived learning from the cats. People go upstairs, never come back down. And so there's Craig wanting the Doctor to leave because of the recent events, including people loving him and driven Sophie away and the Mega Gizmo. The Doctor headbutts Craig, and we get a flashback with his previous incarnations and calls himself the 11th. So he headbutts Craig, and finally he understands the Doctor. Sophie came in and the girl is asking her for help, so she went upstairs. At that moment where the Doctor and Craig are at the top stairs, Amy lets them know that there is no upstairs.
There is no upstairs!
They went in and it looks dark and pretty grim of a TARDIS. So Sophie gets pulled into the machine and Craig saved her, so then it happened to the Doctor. Craig saved him by pressing the button, and Sophie did, as after when he told Sophie how he feels about her.
Kiss the girl! Kiss the girl!
So they kissed, then they left the house, and the top floor was a spaceship. And no one walking past noticed that the top floor is gone because of the perception filter. It tricks their memories. The ceiling is fixed, there's Craig and Sophie smooching, and the Doctor was about to leave but got caught by Sophie and Craig. Craig wanted the Doctor to keep the keys, and he promised he will return, so the Doctor is finally in the TARDIS with Amy and asking her to reach for a red pen. So Amy picked up an engagement ring with the crack on the wall at Craig's wall behind the bin. The ending gave me the goosebumps with the music. When the Doctor introduced himself to the timeship Avatar as Captain Troy Handsome of International Rescue, that was a reference to both Captain Troy Tempest from Stingray and International Rescue from Thunderbirds. both shows created by Jerry and Sylvia Anderson.
Hello, I'm Captain Troy Hanson of International Rescue. Please state the nature of your emergency.
Stephen Cooper of Slant Magazine also saw a reference to the emergency medical hologram, the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager. As the Doctor continued, please state the nature of your emergency. So yeah, I really love this episode, definitely my favourite Series 5 episode. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks people, as always, for watching, and see you in the next video. Doctor Who Pandorica Opens, the 12th episode of Series 5, is written by Stephen Moffat and starring Matt Smith, Karen Gillan, Alex Kingston and Arthur Darvill. So after the read-through, the cold weather made some of the cast and crew late, which is why filming was later than planned. Stephen Moffat wanted this episode to be big and go mad with it, and he chose Stonehenge because it's suitable for the fall of someone as powerful as the Doctor. Everyone got told that they were not allowed to touch the stones, bring heavy equipment, and the lighting had to be done from the floor. They could only afford to shoot during one night and spend the only hour of daylight in the morning, shooting a 3-minute dialogue sequence, and the rest of the scenes setting at Stonehenge were filmed with a lightweight replica set up in Margam Country Park called Foomhenge over 4 nights. So the episode begins at 1890. Vincent is ill as he screamed, and Dr. Gatchett and Madame Vernet were trying to calm him down. Vernet looked at the mysterious painting, so then in 1941 Professor Bracewell brought the painting to Winston Churchill, and he's supposed to deliver it, not understand it. So in the storm cage containment facility in 5145, where River is in jail, the guard answered the phone and passed it to River. And because phoning the time vortex doesn't always work, it got disconnected. And poor guy, as it's his first day, River kissed him and he's got hallucinogenic lipstick. And it's really hilarious when it's a drawing of River saying bye on the wall.
Your tricks don't work in here, Dr. Song.
Liz Tenheld's River at gunpoint, wondering why she stole the painting, and it's because she needs to show it to the Doctor. So River talks to Dorium, which got me thinking, is that the same bar that the Doctor saw Captain Jack in The End of Time? If you know, let me know in the comments below. We learned that River has put micro-explosive in Dorium's wine, and he also gave River the vortex manipulator, which I assume that's Captain Jack's.
A vortex manipulator, fresh off the wrist of a handsome tirade.
I love the bit where the Doctor and Amy arrived and they saw the oldest cliff face in the universe with the words "Hello Sweetie" on there. So they arrived at Roman Britain in 2nd century and got taken into a tent where River is disguising herself as Cleopatra, and she shows the Doctor the painting of a TARDIS explosion and talking to him about the Pandorica Opens. So they rode on a horse to Stonehenge to find the Pandorica, and apparently the close-up shots of the Doctor, Amy and River were filmed when they sat on the saddle mounted on the back of the truck and acts like they were riding horses. Karen thought it was Strongest Thing, and she also said she looked ridiculous, and there was stunt doubles riding on horses. So the Doctor, Amy and River looked around and went under the Stonehenge while there's a head of a Cyberman. The scene where the trio were using gas-fed flaming torches, Karen Gillan understandably felt nervous and struggled with them. They tried to find a way to make the scene work, so the director, Toby Haynes, played Raiders of the Lost Ark soundtrack, filming that scene so they can slow down as they explore, which really does work. And Karen found it useful, as the temple has a bit of Indiana Jones vibes.
The Pandorica.
The Doctor examines the Pandorica box at prison. Ironically, Pandora's Box is Amy's favourite fairy tale book when she was a kid. The Cybermen and Dalek voices gave me the goosebumps.
Cyber ships.
No, Dalek ships. Listen to them. Those are Dalek ships.
Yes, Dalek ships and cyber ships.
So the Doctor and River mentions Daleks, Cybermen and Centaurans, and I love the bit where River mentions the old monsters like Pteroleptal, Slitheen, Chelonian, Nestine, Draven, Sigarax, Hemogov, Zygon, Atraxi and Draconian. So while there's spaceships flying around the sky, River went back to Cleopatra's tent. Commander found out that River isn't Cleopatra and she's there to ask for help. So Amy tells the Doctor that she found a ring, and the Doctor said it's memory. I was wondering if that's the moment where the Doctor was talking about Rose, but then the arm of Cyberman was shooting lasers, and it was pretty gangster when the Doctor was like, "Look at me, I'm a target," and then just ran off.
You know how sometimes I have really brilliant ideas? Sorry.
So he got Amy to distract it, and the Doctor got the arm and deactivated it. Well, sort of. But something grabbed Amy and the arm stuns the Doctor. Amy is grabbed by a Cyberman head with a metal tentacles at the bottom neck. This scene is fantastically done, especially when the helmet opens and it shows a rotten skull falling out. After Amy dropped a Cyberman head and shot a dart at Amy like Jango Fett, telling her she will be assimilated, and Amy's like, "You in whose body?" which is a great line. A body of a Cyberman came, and my god, that was scary and really intense. A Cyberman puts his head back on and was about to delete Amy, so she defends herself with a flame torch and ended up in Underhedge. Apparently, Karen Gillan said she really wanted to work with the iconic monster, as the Cybermen had been guarding the Pandorica for a long time. Toby Haynes, the director of this episode, wanted to make it look rusted, creaky and old, and compared its behaviour to Frankenstein. The Cybermen was originally played by someone who was amputated with one arm, but the production team wasn't satisfied with the camera angle and decided to reshoot the scene from a different angle, but a different actor who had both arms did the part, as the amputator was unavailable. A simple solution was devised to cover his arm with a green sleeve, made of the same material as a green screen, and the final sequence is a combination of both shots. And it was a bit of a jump scare when there's a knife impaled through a Cyberman, and it was done by a Roman who turns out to be Rory. This was meant to signify that there is something different about Rory, as he would have normally panicked in that situation. And Amy passed out, and I was like, yes! I was so happy to see Rory return when I first watching it.
Hello, Amy. Whoa, 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 whoa.
I didn't think I would have seen him again, so the Doctor missed the obvious but then said hello to Rory and wondering how he died and then came back to life as a Roman. And I love the Doctor's speech where he's on the microphone talking to spaceships.
Hello, Stonehenge! Who takes the Pandorica takes the universe.
And Murray Gold's music is fantastic.
Let somebody else try first.
Meanwhile, River went back into the TARDIS and arrived at Amy's house and sees Amy's favourite books, a photograph of Rory and Amy where Rory is dressed as a Roman and what everyone looks like in the 2nd century. So she tries to warn the Doctor while they phone each other. Amy's having trouble to remember Rory. The music gives me the shivers.
Am I happy?
They're not real. They can't be. They're all right here in this storybook. Those actual Romans.
So the Romans acted weird as they're looking down and then look straight forward, and they revealed to be Autons. So Rory fights Sid to keep his mind, and Amy finally remembers Rory, but then he shot Amy.
No. No.
Which reflected Moffat's belief that all good love stories end in tragedy. While Auton Romans restrained the Doctor, the Daleks appeared, so did Cybermen, Jadoons, Centaurans.
The Pandorica is ready!
And after the Doctor sat in the Pandorica, there's a lot more monsters that we can see, like Silurians, Sigarax, Hoiks, and Roboforms. And I was mind blown when I first saw it. It's something I always love to see in Doctor Who, all monsters returning. It'll be like in Spider-Man when all the villains crossing over, which we saw many villains returned in No Way Home, which is awesome. And also you could briefly see monsters from Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood, which are Uvodini, Blowfish and Weevil, which is cool. So they said they're going to save the universe from the Doctor, so they sealed him in as he shouts, "Listen to him."
It's exploding right now and I'm the only one who can stop it! Listen to me!
River opening the TARDIS door with the stone wall outside not letting her out, with the TARDIS console exploding and the cracks removing universe from existence. When the cliffhanger scene was shot, where many monsters and villains appeared, They were made up of the very best costumes and props they still had in good condition, and of the most iconic monsters. So many monsters and villains standing side by side had never been seen in a show before. Man, what a cliffhanger. I was so mind-blowing watching this at 11 years old. I really love this episode. So cool to have a lot of returning monsters in one episode. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Doctor Who The Big Bang, the 13th episode of Series 5. It's written by Stephen Moffat and starring Matt Smith, Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill. So the aspects of this episode is planned by Stephen Moffat, and he thought of The Big Bang as his favourite dirty Doctor Who joke, as it's a reference to the fact that Amy and Rory conceived their child on the TARDIS, which that night got revealed in A Good Man Goes to War. So The Big Bang begins with the 11th Hour opening, where young Amelia Pond is praying for Santa to send someone to fix the crack on her wall. So she looks out the window, but this time there was no one there. So Amelia showed her psychiatrist and her Aunt Sharon a picture with stars, and her psychiatrist reminded her that there's no such thing as stars. So then she gets a letter from the doctor wearing a fez inviting her to National Museum, so her and Sharon went on the next day. So Amelia rushes past the stone Daleks and sees a Pandorica there. So after Amelia gets a note saying stick around, she finds a place to hide and ooh, she's doing an overnight challenge. So at night, Amelia came out of her hiding place and the Pandorica opens and there's adult Amy inside it. So after the title sequence in 102 AD at Stonehenge, Rory grieves over Amy, and I love the Doctor wearing a fez and carrying a mop. It's so iconic.
It's not the end of the world. Well, it is the end of the world. Actually, it's the end of the universe. Oh no, hang on.
So he gave Rory the sonic screwdriver to let the other Doctor out of the Pandorica, and the one in the fez is his future. Stephen Moffat found it interesting that the Doctor regularly experienced time out of order and was used to hold different kind of casualty. He believed that the Doctor would attempt to cheat and break his own rules to save the universe from collapsing. The time travel used in the episode is compatible with the theory of time travel, as the episode shows many time jumps. When the Doctor travels back to do things seen in the opening credits, Moffat decided to make it less complicated by allowing the audience to figure things out before they occurred. He did this by calling attention to the future Doctor in the opening scenes, by having him wearing a fez and holding a mop, and as the audience saw the Doctor later acquire these items, they would start to connect the events. Moffat mentioned the fez to Piers Wenger and Beth Willis. They were concerned about Matt Smith would become too attached to the fez and wanted to incorporate it into his costume, but Moffat assured him that he was planning on destroying the fez. Wenger later said Matt was one of the few people who can pull off a fez. After Rory finds out he's a Nestine, the Doctor grabbed a vortex manipulator and disappeared, while Rory kept Amy inside the Pandorica and guarded for around 2,000 years. Blimey, a couple who waited, and I think him and Captain Jack have something in common, which also gives us the Lone Centurion Big Finish, telling us a story where Rory the Roman defends the Pandorica in ancient Rome.
I won't let her out of my sight, because that's what I do. On my own. Waiting for the love of my life.
Karen Gillan described Rory's vigil for Amy as the ultimate romantic gesture, which showed how much he loved Amy, and was where Amy realised how much she loved him. Stephen Moffat thought that standing guard for 2,000 years would make up for shooting her. So Amy looks at Amelia's height to learn that it's 1996. After the Doctor appears, they get chased by a stone Dalek, and there's Rory working as a night shift security guard and using the power of Auton to shoot the Dalek. And the Doctor grabbed the fez, so everyone ran. The Dalek comes back to life with Pandorica still opening, and it's creepy the way the Dalek said restore. So So the Doctor does what his future self in Fez did, tell Rory to let his past self out of the Pandorica, leave a note for Amelia, and snatch a coke off her hand. Then we get a scary scene where another Doctor appeared and he fell as he died, which is his future. Then Amelia has disappeared as the history is still collapsing, but the Doctor, Amy and Rory are still there as their anomaly. They're at the eye of the storm. As they go on the roof, I love the bit where the Doctor rescued River by saying, "Hi honey, I'm home."
Hi, honey. I'm home.
So they teleported out the TARDIS and back to the roof, and I love the moment where River is like, "What in the name of sanity have you got on your head?" And the Doctor says he's got a fez and fezzes are cool.
It's a fez. I wear a fez now. Fezzes are cool. Oh!
But Amy decided to yank it off him and threw it in the air, and River blasted it. So then the stone Dalek arrived, so they ran back inside. Later, when the Doctor got distracted, he got exterminated. And I love the moment where River got the Dalek saying, "Mercy." It's pretty effective.
Say it again.
Mercy!
One more time.
Mercy!
So the Doctor's body got disappeared and he's ended up in the Pandorica, and Amy doesn't know what happened to her parents. In order to reboot the universe, the Doctor in the Pandorica is flying up the sky. As the time gets reversed, he's in the TARDIS. And I love his line when he said, "I escaped." I love it when I do that. I can get a new fez. And there's Amy dressing up for holiday as they're going to Florida. So then the Doctor appeared outside Craig's flat where Amy left a note, and the Doctor sees a crack on the road right next to him. So the Doctor appeared in Byzantium and goes to Amy with her eyes closed so she doesn't get killed by weeping angels, and tell her to remember.
That's not the point. You have to remember.
Then ended up in 1996 and finds Amelia fall asleep in the back garden. So the Doctor carried Amelia into her bed and told her a story, how he stole, or rather borrowed, the TARDIS. And the crack won't close properly until he steps inside it. So he did, and Amelia woke up as her bedroom is empty. So in 2010 in the morning, Amy is surprised to see her mum and dad alive as they're getting ready for wedding. So while at Amy and Rory's wedding, Amy's dad does a speech, and Amy has got River's diary as she's walking past. So Amy shuts her dad up and told everyone about her imaginary friend, who is the Doctor. So then the TARDIS appeared, and there's the Doctor looking good in a suit and top hat.
Hello, everyone! I'm Amy's imaginary friend.
But I came anyway.
And I love his dance when he does that.
Terrible! That's embarrassing!
That's it!
Brilliant. So after the dance, the Doctor meets up with River, and she says that the Doctor will soon find out who she really is.
You're going to find out very soon, man. And I'm sorry. But that's when everything changes.
Stephen Moffat had always intended for Amy and Rory to get married from the off, and describes the conclusion as a story of how Amy has been changed by the Doctor and the Doctor's success at restoring her spirit to the girl he first met, believing that a man could drop out of the sky and fix everything. However, he didn't return for her as he had promised, and she grew believing that he was a liar and couldn't be trusted. Amy returns to her original belief when she stands up at her wedding and proclaims that the Doctor is real and he will arrive. In the end, the Doctor in the TARDIS gets a call, something about an Egyptian goddess loose on the Orient Express in space, which later gets explored in Mummy on the Orient Express in Series 8. So Amy waves goodbye to her house, so Amy and Rory continued travelling with the Doctor. Another great episode. I do love Series 5. What did you think of this episode and Series 5? Let me know in the comments down below. Given David Tennant as the 10th Doctor has been popular for Nation and brought the show a wider audience, Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor is also exceptionally popular, closest rival to Tennant, lauded for bringing an alien, whimsical quality and an old man in a young person's body, combined with the fairy tale tone of this era, won over fans and also strong Gen Z.
The daft old man who stole a magic box and ran away.
Smith is also the first actor to play the Doctor to be nominated for a BAFTA award. Series 5 is often cited as a fan favourite season with many ranking it as one of the best seasons of the modern era, while the overnight ratings declined compared to the first 4 series.
The 11th Doctor has arrived with his new companion Amy Pond and new sonic screwdriver. He's confronted Hawthorne and the terrifying Smilers. Exterminate! And saved planet Earth from a new race of Daleks. The Weeping Angels returned in the Maze of the Dead, but there were no...
When the action figures of the characters in the series came out, 6 of them came with the pieces of the Pandorica, with audiobook CD to build the Pandorica CD cube case, with 3 completed classic era stories, all 2-parter, which are the Auton Invasion, the Giant Robot, and the Cave Monsters.
Collect and build your own Pandorica CD cube case. Each 5-inch action figure includes an audio CD and a piece of the Pandorica, with 3 classic Doctor Who stories to hear. The Doctor Who Pandorica Collection.
From character.
Still fun to this day collecting figures with pieces, and sadly I never got to have all of them. As much as collecting Doctor Who Monster Invasion, a card game that's similar to Battles in Time, 9 each in silver packets, found in the Monster Invasion magazines.
The magazine is packed with facts, challenges and awesome alien slamdowns, plus a guide to your amazing collector cards.
Which features the classic era all the way up to Series 6, with the rarities like the Doctor, Companions, Allies, Monsters, Villains, Adventures, Gadgets, etc. Series 5 gives us novels, including the new series Adventures such as Apollo 23, Night of the Humans, and The Forgotten Army. There's also novelization of some of the episodes. Meanwhile, in the TARDIS Part 1 and 2, the 2 mini-sodes are written by Stephen Moffat and starring Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. They're both filmed for the complete Series 5 box set and tells the story what happened between regular episodes. Part 1 takes place just after the 11th hour, where Amy first came into the TARDIS and kept asking the Doctor questions, and then ended up in space, which is where her first scene in The Beast Below happened.
Get out.
What?
No, seriously.
Get out!
Part 2 is set in just after Flesh and Stone, where Amy is kept trying to flirt and kiss the Doctor, but he refuses it. And I love the bit where it shows the previous companions. So in the end, the Doctor thought it's time to take Amy back to Rory, where he's in Stag Party, which leads into the Vampires of Venice. Those are great minisodes. What did you think?
Right, that's it, Rory. We're going to find Rory, and we're going to find him now.
Is that Stag Night?
Doctor, your interference is no longer acceptable, and your freedom is no longer efficient. You will be brought before me to explain your knowledge of the artifact.
Oh yeah, you and whose army?
We also have video games, including the Nintendo games Return to Earth and Evacuation Earth.
So we're in a time and space machine that can go anywhere in the universe, and you want to go to the Lake District.
Actually, there's lots of good reasons to go to the Lake District.
The Mazes of Time, a mobile game app. And also, the best of all...
No, impossible. You take control in Doctor Who The Adventure Games. Run. Download now at bbc.co.uk/Doctor Who.
Doctor Who The Adventure Games, an episodic adventure video games developed by Charles Seal and Sheffield-based game company Sumo, all written by Phil Ford and James Moran, and overseen by Stephen Moffat, with Smith and Gillan reprising their roles. The first game, City of Daleks, the second game, Blood of the Cybermen, followed by the third game, TARDIS, and the fourth, Shadows of the Vashta Narada. I'll have to admit, I played City of the Daleks for a little bit until the computer crashed, and I never got to play it again. Unfortunately, at the end of May 2017, the series was removed from Stream due to expiration of legacy games licensed with the BBC. Plus, I never played any Nintendo games, despite that I do see them in shops many times. Also, Doctor Who 2010 Prom, again featuring the music of Murray Gold, which performed on 24th and 25th of July 2010, is available for Series 5 box set, and it is fun to watch, and the first Doctor Who prom that I've watched. My favourite part is either I Am the Doctor or This is Gallifrey, where the screen shows all the Doctor's regenerations. The Monsters Are Coming, a stage show that starred Matt Smith, produced by BBC Worldwide, and featured video clips, special effects, creatures from the series, and music by Murray Gold, which broadcasted on 8th of October to 7th of November 2010, with Vorgensen, a time-travelling showman travelling around galaxy and spreading stories about the Doctor exploits, while using his Minister gadget to conjure up the Doctor's enemies, played by Nick Planer, who gives off great performance.
The monsters are coming!
As always, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.